Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I want to let you know that as we go into this episode, there is some very strong language that is used based on the subject matter that we decided to cover today. I want to let you know that if you have young children around, or if you are otherwise opposed to strong language, and by strong language, I do mean cuss words. If these are words that bother you in any way, this may be a podcast that you want to skip. If you are trying to guard your ears in a certain type of way, this may not be the pod for you. You have been warned. If you go any further, enjoy.
Let's go! Welcome to the basement. Yo, it's safer down here, cause that 100 flow will leave you on the pavement. And most of y'all like, wait a minute. The stuff that I be thinking is the stuff that Timmy out here boldly saying. Bow your heads, close your eyes, say a prayer. God got purpose for your life, stay prepared. We went viral and we didn't know who cared. Shout out to all of y'all that clicked subscribe and shared. Hey, we are on our way. Deathbed confessions, this is all I'll say. Like my last $10, this is all I'll pay. The basement's all inclusive, this and all I'll stay. Believers, church hurt, atheists, agnostics, deconstructionists, and whatever your other optics. Press B and let's see what can be when we ask the Holy Spirit to come between you and me. What's up, my Tomies? I hope you're doing well. Listen, I'm on the set right now, and Tome is giving away 6 courses for the price of 1. The Good Friday sale. Dang, it's too good. 6 courses for the price of 1. And so if you could not afford course by course by course, you better get in now. I can't even remember all the ones that they're doing. What's the first one?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind is the first. Listen, if you don't have peace of mind, you need to get it. What's the next one? Creating in chaos. Listen, this is the one that takes care of the distortion of your life and gives you clarity in a way that you've never had it before. Next, led. If you want to be led by the Holy Spirit, then you need to get this course, because this is the one that's going to show you how to lead and guide your life through the Holy Spirit's prompting. The Back Row Guide to Easter is 50% about Easter and 50% about people that have been hurt in church. And so if you have felt distant or in any way reticent about stepping back into a community, a household of faith, let this course be a blessing to you. Next, Peace of Mind 7-day devotional. Take everything from the course and break it down so that you can have 7 days in a row when you're intentional about your peace of mind. And finally, dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, y'all been asking for it and we couldn't wait to give it to you. Upset the Vows is a course that Juliet and I will walk you through to get you some tips, some tools, some resources so that you and your spouse can be closer than you've ever been before. Upset the Vows, y'all giving away me and Juliet's juiciest stuff for the price of 1 course? Where they do that at? Well, I'll tell you why we did it. It's Good Friday. What the heck are we even doing? I need you to go to tomeapp.com/Friday.
But wait, there's one more thing. My name's Chris and I'm the CEO of Tome. And when we started Tome a few years ago, we had something called Tome Stories. And they were designed to help you understand what the Bible means in your everyday life. And because you've asked, we are bringing them back. And when you get Tim's Good Friday Easter bundle, you're going to get 12 months of Tome Stories absolutely free.
Welcome to the basement, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Tim Ross. I love you guys so much. I hope you're all doing well. Shout out to my press B, shout out to my dwellers, shout out to my promoters. Wherever you're watching or listening from, iTunes, Spotify, I don't know, shortwave radio frequency in the middle of the Indian Ocean. I don't know how people get this content, but all I'm saying is, however you do, I love you so much. Man, this is a history making pod. It is. It's a history making pod. I mean, you don't even know how we've made history yet, but this is a history making pod because since the very first pod that we dropped back on July 6th of 2022. Man, we've been at this a long time.
Yeah.
Wow, man, back in those early days, God,
You're such
that
a ham.
2022 year, back when we first started, man, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just out here just believing God. And now look, no, I don't, whatever. Since July 6th of 2022, we have never had a return guest. Any guests we've had, we haven't had one return until now. Not that we didn't want them to return, but I am with the homie, my sister for life, one of the brightest minds in, do we just say like the clinical world or the therapy world or how do you classify your world?
So I've had to change that now that I do coaching.
Got you. In the coaching world, do I say that?
So I say mental health and wellness.
Great.
And that kind of gets all of it.
Okay, so one of the brightest minds, in my humble opinion, in the mental health and wellness world, ladies and gentlemen, our first returner. That's what we're just going to call them from now on. The returners. You know what I mean? We have guests, then we have returners, right?
Oh,
our first returner ever, ladies and gentlemen, Jenna Mountain is back in the building. Let's go! Woo! Still don't have
sound effects.
Yes, I make my own sound effects, and I can beatbox as well.
Yeah, you can.
What the what?
Wow.
Yo, your first what?
I feel humbled by that.
Yo, our first epi was 159,000 views.
I already told you off the mic. My husband keeps up with this for me. He's just like watching it all the time.
That's crazy. Well, dang.
I know.
Well, listen, the beautiful thing is that was a moment that we captured, and it was beautiful, and we're not competing with that moment.
Yeah.
Right? So
we have a new moment.
This is a new moment. You know what I mean? This moment could be 70,000 viewers or 17,000 viewers. We don't care. We have conversations. I don't care if you like them or not. Right?
I believe you.
I really don't care.
I believe you.
We in the basement. We could bring people down to the basement that you love. We could bring people down to the basement that you loathe. We're just having conversations.
It's still good to listen either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes us grow.
You can learn a lot from people you don't like.
That's right.
I promise you can.
You should read the books you don't think you're going to like too.
That's true. Ooh, that's convicting for me.
If you don't do that, it's a little bit of an echo chamber.
Oh, you know what? I was about to say I do that. I don't do that because
no, you don't do that.
Any book I read outside the Bible is a stretch for me. So I mean,
it's true.
I'll be like, let me go ahead and see what this person has to say, and then I wind up feverishly marking it up, like, oh my God,
nope.
Who are you?
Nope.
Yeah. So anyway, it's so good to have you back, girl.
Thank you.
So good to have you back.
You guys are generous and kind, and this is turning into one of my favorite places to be.
Hey, yeah. I love it. Oh, I also want to shout out, speaking of places to be, this is our first time on this set. We are at Maker's Gym in Frisco, Texas.
Yes.
What's crazy is we actually won some type of drawing or something.
Wow.
All right, so Hector just referred to himself in third person.
Well,
he said Hector came.
Yes.
and
left early.
Yeah,
Hector left early.
We entered a drawing. We were supposed to stay to the end to find out who won. Sam and Hector left early from that drawing, and we still won.
Listen. That's
when you know it's providential.
Yeah.
So this is our first time in this studio, and it's dope. It's a whole vibe. I'll look at it later when it comes out to see, visually, but y'all are pleased. If y'all are pleased, I'm pleased. Yeah. So But Maker's Gym, like I met the owners. They are some incredibly creative, talented people. I just ran into Amos St. John, who is the music director for Embassy City.
Yes, I love Amos.
Just now, just on my way back up here, he's with a guy, one of his friends from Baltimore, and they're at the sound stage,
super talented,
right around the corner. Everything is soundproofed in here.
Yeah.
And so,
it's a very nice venue.
I had a call
for creatives
with a dear friend of mine and relative downstairs. They have these soundproof pods. There's a guy in the pod in front of me, a guy in the pod two back from me, and so I step into one of the middle pods. You can hear nothing.
It's amazing.
Like, this place is unbelievable. So Maker's Gym in Frisco, if you're a creative, this is a one-stop shop.
Yeah, it is.
You don't have to. You can come in here without a camera and leave with content. So check them out on their website. What is the website? Is it Maker's Gym?
Yeah, go to makersgym.com.
Yep.
And we are creatives producing here, and when I tell you we came in, everything was pretty much ready.
Yeah.
It took 12 minutes to set up because we had everything.
Yeah, it was plug and play, right?
That's amazing.
12 minutes to set up, plug and play. It's all good. Hector just made that whole statement. His mic is not even on. It's okay. That's what happens when you're the first time in a new building. You're like, I think I'm doing this, and is my mic on? No, I'm just kidding. Is this even filming? I'm just playing.
All these fancy toys.
Hey, it's beautiful though. The lights is dope. Everything in here is dope.
Yeah.
So we are good. Shout out to Juliana, my amazing social media beast.
Yeah.
And also responsible for this iced latte. I love you, girl. Dios te bendiga. Te ama mucho. Okay, so all right. So here's the thing. Jenna is the first returner of many.
Feels like pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. Jenna's our first returner. Not our last, but our first.
Yeah.
And here is what I established for returners. When you return, you get to talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't do that the first time, but like, I just want to know what you're musing on. I want to know what you're like chewing on, what's like inspiring you, what's pissing you off, what's frustrating. Like, I just want to see the world through your lens and discover some stuff that I don't know. Cause I'm a curious soul, Jenna. You know this about me though.
I know this about you, and I'm also going, I don't know if there's that much you don't know.
You
and I sync up a lot.
We do. That's very, very true. That's
Yeah.
very true. You're a dear, close friend. So we do sync up a lot.
Yeah. Well, we sort of chatted before. I'm in the middle of wrapping up my dissertation. I could talk about what it's about. I can also talk about that process. That's been very hard.
Yep.
We've talked about that.
Yep.
That has been probably one of the most character developing experiences of my life, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really passionate about the topic. So I just had some fun with your team, and we talked a little bit about a statement that I feel very strongly about, which you witnessed having a little collegial dialogue about at the last circle.
Yep.
At the table, if you remember. I still stand by my statement.
Yep.
And so those are some of the things I'm chewing on.
Okay.
So we can go a lot of directions.
Where do you want to start?
I think I really am pretty passionate about that statement that I got pushback on.
Start with the statement.
Okay. So when men or women talk about female sexual desire or the lack thereof, or the lack of presentation, or the lack of it showing up, I often say, and there are caveats to this. So I am an Enneagram 8. I like that about me. I'm going to
I like that about you.
Sass and punch and poke to challenge and push thought. But this was actually said in my training process, and I still hold to the words and make it more global at this point. But basically I say it may be that she doesn't like the sex she's being offered.
That's right.
And I stand by that. And we had a very dear colleague, someone we both deeply respect.
Yeah.
Go, I don't know if I agree with you.
Right.
Which, like I said, fair game.
Great.
And I think her and I are actually more on the same page than not.
I think it was more semantics.
It was semantics.
Yep.
And I am purposely poking at some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
By holding to those words.
Oh, absolutely correct.
Yeah. And I've actually been re-listening to a book that textures why I hold to that.
Yep.
Because that statement's not just about the exchange between a woman and her sexual partner or spouse.
Yep.
It is more global than that.
Yeah,
the
for sure.
sex that women have been offered at large
Yep.
is not appealing
Yep.
to most women.
Yep.
They don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want the sex they're being offered.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when I talk about that, I'm talking about like this global idea of how sex has been defined
Yep.
for them, what women have been told that they are obligated to do.
Yep.
It pulls, on so many levels, it pulls women away from everything that needs to develop for them to actually have a genuine, my sexual appetite and desire.
Yeah.
And so one of the books that I'm re-listening to for a different kind of project and purpose is Burnout by the Nagoski sisters.
Okay.
And Amelia, if I'm going to get this right, Amelia is like she went and got one of these impossible degrees to become like a music conductor. And Emily is a sex educator.
Okay.
And they wrote this book together. And in some of the things that they unpack is the systemic issues against women that contribute to burnout. And what I understand as a sex therapist and educator is if my body and nervous system aren't well, I'm going to have a real hard time finding my sexual desire, my sexual appetite.
For sure.
And so they unpack a whole bunch of philosophies and theories that basically explain why we've moved women away from themselves, away from their female sexuality. So when I say she doesn't want the sex she's being offered, she doesn't want the sex that the world has offered her. She is uninterested.
Okay.
So that's where I've been
Well,
for a hot minute.
yeah. You know I agree with you on this.
I know you.
Right. I agree with you on this. And I wanna dig around
Yeah.
the purpose of why we say things a certain way.
Yeah.
You can't integrate a new thought
Yeah.
without agitating old ones.
Yes.
Right? So the reason why it's important to agitate with the way we communicate certain things
Yeah.
is to disrupt this notion that everything we say must be in the most polite fashion so it can be as palatable as possible to as many people as possible.
Well, so what you just brought up is like a whole portion of that book.
Really?
Yeah. I'm telling you, both men and it was written for women, but like all parties should read it. So they quote Kate Mann's work, which specifically from her book Down Girl, which unpacks misogyny. And it talks about human giver syndrome. Like the people who their purpose is to give versus the humans that their purpose is to be. And that by and large, women, and I would argue minorities, are supposed to give, which means we're supposed to be nice, pretty, palatable, and make things easy for the beings of the world. And that shows up in sex. That 100% shows up in sex.
Wow.
And one of the things they talk about when you're addressing the systemic contributors to burnout is that so the pushback that I got from our very dear friend and colleague was that when I say it like that, it removes what we call the locus of control from the woman to take back her sex life.
Mm-hmm.
And I do sort of get that if you hear it that way.
Right, understood.
But I think the world has taken the locus of control from her in its systemic practices.
Agreed.
Okay, so in the book, the Nagoski sisters talk about you have to name, at some point, you have to name the systemic problem to walk out of and regain back. So when you're talking about being disruptive and an agitator, like they actually unpacked in the research why that is true. You can't just go, well, it's a systemic issue. We know that to be true. It doesn't. No, you have to name it to walk out of it.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
So if I could get paid to be a professional disruptor, I would. I mean, like that is like core to my being. But that's what I'm trying to do is disrupt
That's right.
the
That's
line
correct.
of thinking.
So I talked about this with people that ask me about diversity.
Yeah.
I talk about this with white people
Yes.
that ask me about diversity. Like,
Yeah, let's clarify.
What people ask me about diversity? White people do.
do.
All right. So, and every time they ask, I have this. My answer is you can't get chocolate milk without adding chocolate. Right.
Yes.
And if you put chocolate milk, if you put Nesquik next to a glass of milk, that's a kumbaya.
Yeah.
It's just side by side.
It's a gathering.
That's a gathering, right? That's a gathering of
not
ingredients.
a mixing, it's
That's
a gathering.
right? If you scoop the powder out and put it in the milk, you don't have chocolate milk. You have chalky milk. Because the powder's on top of the milk. It doesn't.
No process to change it.
There's no process to change it.
Yeah.
So what is the process that takes what is on top of another thing to making it a blended thing?
Agitation. Yeah. A catalyst.
A catalyst. And I would argue that disruption, if we're going to dabble in semantics, disruption is even the wrong word. Something needs to agitate
You get
here.
me frustrated.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the women's rights movement was not going to happen without somebody
Getting irritated.
agitated, right?
Yeah.
Civil rights movement was not going to happen unless somebody got agitated. The LGBT
We don't move out of our comfort zone.
we don't do so. It takes that one,
Yeah.
right? You need a whisk, you need a blender. They have a very specific purpose.
Yes.
The only thing I do is smash stuff together until it turns into something else.
Okay. So let me layer something on.
Sweet.
That again, I've been listening to this book. Like y'all, I'll go get the Burnout book. I want to give credit where credit's due.
Mm-hmm.
They unpack, and I'm going to mess this up, which I'm fine with, because I'm a human. But they unpack why some people would give up, and they talk about the science that's been done with rats, where they like tilt the cage at a 45-degree angle, which is hard. And basically, it's learned helplessness. It's the science behind learned helplessness. And we always want to look at the person who's using learned helplessness and blame them. But you actually, like, you've convinced their brain there's no way out. And so you have to convince their brain that there is a way out. And they talked about putting these rats in like water and like forcing them to tread to where the rat would just attempt to float because it knew it couldn't work and get anywhere anymore. And so it's just trying to float to survive. And like, how many people do you know that have even given up agitating for whatever cause it is? Because they've learned it makes no difference for me to try harder.
Wow.
That's where it's like I have such compassion for the oppressed party from a trauma perspective. Learned helplessness. We love to like throw that at people who are like, I don't know, the secondary gain of it is the word.
Mm-hmm.
Like they need to learn to do better. But I'm like, they were taught that
That's right.
doesn't matter.
And they have empirical data.
Oh yeah.
I tried 50 times.
I have never stopped. I've never been out of the water.
So I fly a lot.
Yes, you do. A lot.
I fly to different places, and I generally don't like the movies that the free entertainment that you're given, right?
Sure.
So I load up 10 movies at a time from my catalog on my phone, and then whatever flight I'm on, if it's 2 hours, then I go find a 2-hour movie, and if it's 3 hours, then I find a 3-hour movie, but every time I watch a movie, I delete it off my list, and then till I'm done with all 10, and then I go load up 10 more.
Yeah,
my own little thing. Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
Was my movie. That was the perfect movie to watch from Orlando back to Dallas.
Okay.
And
that's a good one.
Great movie, right? And so Christopher Walken plays the role of the dad to Leonardo DiCaprio's
his character.
And he early on in the movie he wins this award, right? So he gets up. It's like a Rotary Club or something. He gets up and he goes, 2 mice fell into a glass of milk.
Yeah.
And they both started swimming, and one gave up fast and drowned. The first one gave up really fast and just drowned. The second one just kept on paddling his legs until that milk turned to butter, and he climbed his way out. And as you were talking about the research with the rats, it's one goes, there's no way out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drown in it. I'll just drown in hopelessness. I'll drown in despair. I'll drown in the hood. Mm-hmm. I'll drown in this relation. Like, there's no way out. Mm-hmm. Divorce is not an option. We have effed up.
Oh, I know. I've.
The church has effed people up and told, like, I really want to cuss right now, which would be very agitating. This would be very agitating. It would be
very upsetting to some people.
It would be very upsetting to people, and we would need to put a advisory on this. Can we do that?
But when you're that angry, sometimes
the
that's
church
the word that
has people
they have
up and told them to stay in marriages.
Abusive,
dangerous marriages, not just physically.
No.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
The church has and I know that is a strong word, that word. I know that word is going to trigger some people. But sometimes you got to say stuff a certain way.
I will say too. Yeah. Yes. Well, you and I know there's science behind. We teach our children that they're charged words.
Yep, they are charged words.
Because they represent charge.
They do. It's a charged word.
And there's a whole way to do that. But there can be some health in using them. So to invite those who feel the sensitivity, it can be very good for your nervous system to use a word that accurately represents the charge that you're letting off.
Absolutely. And I think the reason why I feel it so hard, and like it's actually bringing up.
It hurts, right? Like you feel it in your chest. Like it hurts to think about. We've asked people to endanger themselves. It should hurt. It hurts. It makes me angry that it doesn't hurt others. Mm-hmm. That's where I get I hurt with those who are hurting, and I'm pissed at those who can just sit back and act like it's a non-thing.
I have a dear friend whose husband left for work, and leaving for work means he's going into the arms of another woman. Oh. And, scripture says that, divorce is, God hates divorce, and he does hate divorce.
He does hate divorce.
And you should not stay in a relationship with a person who is giving their body to someone else on a regular basis with no intentions of stopping.
Well, that's not repentance or change.
That's not anything except abuse.
Well, I think okay, so let's layer this. The church is screwed up by misconstruing what reconciliation is and what it requires.
Correct.
And muddling it with the concept of forgiveness, which they are not the same thing.
No, they're not.
And so people basically have been taught to be boundaryless in the name of reconciliation, which was one of the most beautiful things that was modeled for us by Christ. But like that, it's just so messed up. Which is why people are hurt by the church.
Very much so. Very much so. That's the first time I've ever dropped the F-bomb.
Well, this is the first returner.
With
the first time with the F-bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make sure we put
explicit.
And however we need to do that.
We got a time stamped.
Great, thank you so much. We need to put it before the episode starts. Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. And and maybe add a. We've never done this before, so we're just doing this real time, right?
Lots of first times.
Yeah. But maybe put a trigger alert countdown up into the word.
Nice.
Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
All right. So
I just love that all this is happening right in the
this
moment.
is all happening right now.
This is what real creatives do.
Yeah. We're doing this right now, and we're not editing this, and then you're just going to see the thing. We're telling you what we're doing, okay? And I know I'm going to lose a lot of people because of that. I get it. But this is the basement. This is the basement.
It makes me sad because it's a real part of your expression.
It's who I am. It is absolutely who I am. And I know that's going to be.
Also, I didn't cuss, but I'm a cusser too. So y'all can all have feelings about that too.
Yeah,
I'm not just throwing Tim under the bus.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to like, I did, I care about my community. I care about the dwellers and those that support this channel and this content. And there was a person that actually very fairly said that, you know what, it's not I disagree with Tim. I think that Paul says, there's certain liberties that you don't take because for the weaker Christian.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
That scripture is valid and it is true. But this content is by choice.
Yeah.
I would never get up on a Sunday.
And we've had a lot of conversations about that. This is a new platform for you to communicate differently.
That's correct. I would never get up on a Sunday and cuss. There's just no reason to, right? Because there could be a weaker believer that's not able to handle that, whatever. But this content, you have a choice whether you watch this or not. The basement is a paradigm that God gave me, a download that he gave me when I was 30 years old. I was always talking like this.
Yeah.
I was always helping people in a very agitating way.
Yeah.
And so I have told mentees and those that I disciple, you're going to go home and do the damn dishes.
Yeah.
I have told other people that I'm discipling and mentoring, you're out of your fucking mind.
Also,
I just have. That's the way I talk to them. And if this is the basement, I can't censor
everything.
I can't censor me.
Yeah.
Because all the people I've discipled and mentored, they all know this is who he is.
Here's the other thing that sometimes I think is missed. So I'm going to offer, I don't know, a statement, a credit, testimony to you. And this is how I would want to raise my kids when it comes to charged words.
Yep.
That's what we call them, charged words.
They are, yeah.
There is a maturity in being able to use them properly.
Correct.
And I'm not just talking about like the person that sounds like a goober because they cuss in the wrong spots.
Right. Exactly.
I'm talking about you have the ability to choose not to use it. You
Correct.
are not a slave to the charged words.
No, I'm not.
Choose to use them. You have the ability. I think that's a maturity piece. So that's how like I talk to my kids about it is you're not old enough to use it because you're not old enough to censor it in certain places.
That's absolutely correct.
And so I think that, and then here's the thing. Would we feel the way we do about charged words if we hadn't been taught to feel the way we do about charged words?
Correct.
To go back to what we were talking about, we have been taught to believe and react in ways that are so unhelpful.
Yeah, I agree.
to us.
I agree. That I just felt another level of liberty, just to say that, and I didn't know. I had no idea this was going to come out today, and it doesn't mean, to your point. There's a choice when to use those words.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone, how many countless hours of podcasts have I done, and it's not even come up. So I'm not restraining myself, I'm not restraining myself, and there are certain times where, and I do think, because I'm still feeling it in my chest, I grieve.
You're that distraught about this.
Yeah, I grieve what the church has done to both men and women
100%.
in the name of marriage.
Well,
it is one of the most toxic things that we have done to people.
Well, marriage was supposed to be a beautiful metaphor, and we have turned it into an idol. Like, we worship marriage instead of letting it be the metaphor that bounces up and allows us to worship and connect and understand more, which is why it's gone so sideways. And we can have no boundaries with it because it's the idol, not the metaphor.
All right, Jenna. Shoot. Okay, so...
And I'm pro-marriage. And I know you are too.
Yeah, I'm very pro-marriage. But to your point, this is crazy. Paul in Ephesians 5 calls marriage a mystery. He says it's a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
But it is an illustration of how Christ loves his church.
Which we will never nail on this side of eternity.
No, we're never going to nail it, right?
No.
But the fact that some of these people are not even trying to get close, and that's what we're telling people to stay in.
Yeah.
A truly Christ illustrated marriage on this side of eternity is bloody and ugly, and two people working and dying and submitting their wills.
It's messy.
It is messy. It's messy.
Just like my personal walk with the Lord is.
Exactly, right? And it's messy in an attempt to get that picture.
Yes.
To even get a silhouette of that picture, right?
Yes, a glimpse.
It's not messy in that I just look at porn and, it's just kind of who I am. And, my wife doesn't like it, but like...
People who resign themselves...
They're the rat that gives up in the milk.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Ooh, child. I'm safety's off on this one.
Yeah, you are.
Holy cow.
But I think it needs to be said. I think the church has gotten too comfortable.
That statement is that statement's gonna take me a month to process. We've made an idol out of marriage.
Yeah, you've taken the illustration and made it an idol.
And at that point, you'll do anything to keep your idol.
Yes, you will compromise a lot of things.
I can't tell you how many pastors' wives I know whose husbands have a side chick and a whole side baby.
Yeah.
And they're still standing by their man.
Well, I talk with, obviously I do a lot professionally, but like friends who cannot hold a party accountable because they need to protect Jesus. Like, that's what I'm going to say. They need to protect the institution because protecting the institution is protecting Jesus. And so they will not hold people accountable in the church.
We about to make the divorce rate go up. In Jesus' name.
Yeah. It's abuse.
You're
what we're defending
okay.
sometimes.
Slow down. We have people purposely staying in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
Because we think we're protecting Jesus's image.
Yeah. I am open for feedback, but that's what it feels like to me.
No, you're absolutely okay.
Like when I hear their reasoning as to why they stay and perpetuate a poor illustration.
All right, so I know people who don't have a past.
Okay.
They have a present.
Okay.
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 All right, you hear
if
me.
I can't follow, I'll ask.
Okay, right. What I mean by that is, and I want to be specific. These people are in ministry.
Yeah.
And they don't have a past of indiscretions and behaviors and lifestyles. They have a present.
Right. Actively happening.
They actively.
Which means they're not actively repentant.
Oh, absolutely not, right? Because they're actively, this is what I do, right?
Yeah.
Actively, without, I'm not in counseling. I preach and I poke,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so lay that all out there, right? And I have literally heard people say to me, it would be better if they never get caught, because how that would impact the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are literally saying just keep covering.
Yeah. Keep lying.
Sin.
Keep lying.
Keep lying.
Lying made the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
Lying.
Let's keep lying, because we don't want to let the image of Jesus down.
Which is the definition of narcissism. Narcissists love their image rather than they love their real selves. Shout out to Chuck DeGroat's book, When Narcissism Comes to Church. Everybody needs to read it. Narcissists love the image of themselves more than they love their real selves. And the churches are very narcissistic systems in many ways.
Yo, this returner anointing is different. We just gotta run it back with all of our guests now and see what comes out. Cause what? Narcissists are in love with their image more than their real selves.
Yeah, I'm going to mess this up, but like it's all based on Greek mythology. And the story is they love the reflection, like they love the reflection more than they love their real selves, and it killed them. It's like where the root word comes from.
I want to go break every mirror in my house. Okay. All right. This is a nuclear bomb I'm about to drop.
Okay.
Based on what you just said.
Yeah.
This is a nuclear bomb, okay? Based on what you just said. The selfie seems like the worst thing that could have ever happened to an individual. I'm not against selfies. I'm not against.
Yeah, no.
What I'm saying is,
it can feed something.
Right? Like when I was growing up, right? I was born in 1975. So we had to go to Ola Mills for our pictures,
and
right?
You'd cross your legs
Kmart.
like this and like stand in front of the light.
You know what I mean?
Straighten your back.
But somebody else had to get behind the lens
To take a picture
to
of
take
you.
a picture of you.
Yeah.
There was nobody in a camera back in those days, a Polaroid or anything, that was turning it around.
Yeah.
to try to get a picture of themselves.
You couldn't do that with your arm length.
You're right.
Like the lens didn't work. Like,
yeah, you know what I mean?
You couldn't like do that.
You couldn't do that. And so to fall in love with your image.
And here's the thing about narcissism, and this is in that mythology.
This is scary.
The reflection, the narcissist really doesn't know the difference. The first lie they've told is to themselves. And I've heard you say that before.
Yeah.
The first lie they've told is to themselves. They really believe the lie about themselves, and so they have to be so deeply committed to maintaining it. They think they're telling you the truth. They are not. Now, here's what's great about Chuck's book. Chuck's book.
Can you get my Bible out of there?
Chuck's book talks about there's a narcissistic tendency in all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
That we have to keep in check. It's not just the person that like crosses the diagnostic criteria for the diagnosis.
Agreed.
And I think that's a really good practice. And realizing also that there's the diagnosable narcissist, there's the narcissistic tendencies in all of us, but there's also the narcissistic system, which is what you and I are talking about.
Absolutely.
Like the system that is upholding the need to have an image that is protected at all costs.
Yep.
And so
that's what's scary to me.
That's the scariest
The fact
part.
that I think that's what's scary. That's why the thing about the selfie is like frightening to me.
Yeah.
Is because we were handed a device and given the option
to reverse the camera.
To just focus on our own image. We've never, not only, y'all, not just focus on the image.
Yeah.
Filter it. So no wonder there starts to be a separation between your image and the reality. There's no filter for your reality. You can't put an amber filter over your reality.
Yeah.
You can't put a black and white filter over your reality.
Yeah.
You can't bring a contrast and blur out the background of your reality.
Yeah.
Your room's not clean. You can't blur that out. That's ciao. Oh my goodness. All right, so this is NLT. I got so much stuff memorized in KJV.
Yeah, you do.
And then so let me check NLT. I mean, I need to see this in. Okay, hold on.
I laugh every time you pull out your phone because our phones look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Our phone cases. I don't
Yep.
think I have mine on me. It's like so beat up. They're like peeling.
All right, so no, that's the same. I know that the exact same word is going to be in there. It better be. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So Genesis 1.
Nice.
27. So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. The glory of man is found in the fact that he and she bears the image
Of God.
of God.
Yeah. And if it terminates on us when we are appreciating ourselves, we've missed it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I love the word that you use, terminates. If it terminates, that's a very literal word to use.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. To go from your glory being in his image to glory being in yours, that's cancer.
Oh, yeah.
That's unsurvivable. You can't survive that.
Well, and Sin's favorite way is to distract us with something that was meant for good.
That's correct. Absolutely
which
correct.
falls in this category for me.
Absolutely correct.
We are supposed to, I believe it is worship to appreciate the way I was wired, the way I was made, the
Absolutely.
way I look,
Yep.
the way I was gifted,
Yes.
the way, and like appreciate that in my brothers and sisters.
Yes.
But when we terminate on that,
Mm-hmm.
I think
When it ends with us.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to give you Bible for it. I got Bible for
Good.
it. Boom, 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 boom. I got Bible for it.
This is nice.
I got Bible for. Okay, y'all ain't ready for this. All right, so this is Acts 12, starting at the 20th verse. Now Herod was very angry with the people of Tyre and Sidon. So they sent a delegation to make peace with him because their cities were dependent upon Herod's country for food. The delegates won the support of Blastus, Herod's personal assistant, and an appointment with Herod was granted. When the day arrived, Herod put on his royal robes, sat on his throne, and made a speech to them. The people gave him a great ovation, shouting, "It's the voice of a god, not of a man." Instantly, an angel of the Lord struck Herod with the sickness because he accepted the people's worship instead of giving the glory to God.
Yep.
So he was consumed with worms and died.
That's just gross.
The next verse has zero chill. Meanwhile, the word of God continued to spread, and there were many new believers. The narcissist gets consumed because
Which is actually the Greek mythology story too.
right.
Yeah.
So literally, why is he consumed? Because the glory stops with him,
Yeah.
and man was not created for glory.
Cannot handle it.
We can handle praise. Proverbs tells us that, hey, you test silver with fire, and you test a man by the amount of praise he gets. We can handle praise. I'll give you a round of applause for
Sure.
dunking the basketball, for winning the championship, celebrate you
Yeah.
and get your doctorate. I'll cheer the whole thing.
But glory, we can't hold that.
It's a dangerous thing to try to hold on to. And if you think your image, that you bear an image, that you can make an image, a brand, you're not going to survive it.
No.
You're never going to survive that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's sobering. That's convicting. Like
And then to track it back, that has been a motivator in maintaining the abuse inside of the church.
Yep.
That make me cuss.
Yeah. Yeah. Golly. All right, so we got to back this thing back up because that ain't where we were trying to go.
That is not where we started.
That is not what we were trying to get to.
I feel like that's real on brand for you and I, though.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I mean, we trigger something, then we trigger something, then we trigger something, then we trigger something, then we wind up in like Brazil.
Sure.
And like we were trying to go to the Bronx, but we just wound up in Brazil. No, it's a I'm glad it went that way though.
Yeah.
Because
people need to hear that.
they do.
They need to hear it.
They do. Somebody has been waiting for permission to leave an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Again, not just physical abuse
No.
and not just adultery, abandonment. Abandonment of the marital vows,
Yeah.
abandonment of accountability. If a person is consistently, I mean, they are trying nothing to produce that image.
Yeah.
sometimes people don't listen until you move.
Yeah.
So I'm not even saying it's a divorce that needs to happen. Some of y'all need to separate. Sometimes people don't change their ways.
I'm a big fan of purpose separation.
Me too. Oh, absolutely correct.
Fan of them. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think it should be a step to prepare you for divorce, but purposeful separation
It helps.
should be the wake up call.
Well, I like them because for most couples that get to that place and are willing to do it, it's a space to detox and be a palate cleanser, because it has just gotten so chaotic and messy that there's really no way to clean it up without just kind of giving some space.
Yeah, that's really good.
And so I try, and there's a lot that I do when I work with relationships that
Yeah.
are about palate cleansing and detoxing. And in fact, I'm probably more infamous for space in the name of intimacy than anything else. And people get irritated with me about that.
Yeah.
But as you can see kind of where my thought process goes and what I've kind of taken in my training, it's like people have to find themselves. They
Yep.
have to restart. They
Yep.
have to reboot things. And so we're so afraid of space, which is probably the codependency in our culture, that we resist doing some of those things in order to get reset to go back.
Well, it's putting a little ramp at the 45-degree angle.
Yeah,
It's making you do something hard,
100%.
right? And codependency alleviates the opportunity for you to actually do something hard.
Yeah.
You know, and so
It's uncomfortable, but it's like the uncomfortable that you know.
right, exactly.
And so when I take away the familiar,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
just, it makes everybody very anxious.
Yeah. Ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. I want to commend those of you all right now that have been brave enough to leave a relationship that was toxic, and people may not have understood. And
I guarantee you a lot of people did not understand
yeah,
that you lost friends, family, and support systems because of the decision you made.
and good on you.
Yeah.
You chose the well-being of your soul to the idol or the image that you had created, and you stopped the cycle of lies.
Yeah.
By saying, I'm removing myself from this situation. I know it's about to blow up the entire thing, but I'd rather blow it up than to live like this anymore.
Well, and what's really hard is in some of those situations, the reason I've been in narcissism is because we're going to do 3 months of it in our coaching group.
Nice.
Yeah. But narcissists would like for you to leave so they can blame you. So the narrative has been set up to where that is a very difficult decision for someone to do. They need to be able to say that they were the victim. Your face. Can you like think back on like situation, like even in
Girl,
your own
I
life?
survived a narcissist. So what you're saying is like
they need
textbook.
you to break up with them. They need you to leave, and so they can be the victim.
I want to laugh and vomit at the same time because it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a dear friend who was married to a narcissist, and God gave her the bravery to leave.
Yeah.
And that's he was the victim.
Yeah, and is going to go on a campaign to protect that space, right? Because it's the image that they want to protect. And so when you talk about it being like a courageous and brave thing to get out and get safe, times 100. Times 100. And literally may lose the entire system that they have
That's
had
correct.
around them.
You're going to, because the narcissist makes you dependent on their ecosystem.
Let's talk about the narcissistic system for 2 seconds.
Let's talk about it for 1,700 seconds.
The narcissistic systems need the narcissist. They are convinced they need the narcissist too. So those who serve the narcissist are under the impression and belief that they need them to be a narcissist. Not, they don't label it that.
Right.
To be in that
need
role,
you to be in that role. So
which is why they will turn on anybody that leaves the system. Because they also need to maintain the image. Narcissists rarely function alone.
For their own survival and well-being.
Yes, they are just as committed.
Sometimes more committed.
Oh, yeah. Because I think it's by God's grace that every once in a while, any party, the narcissist, the narcissistic system, the ones serving the system, might have an inkling that something's off. I think that can happen for the narcissist too.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's by God's grace. We're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Or to start even questioning, why am I doing all of this?
Yes. But you're in this system that like, then the system is like, no, this is your role. This is like what you have to do.
Jenna, Lord have mercy.
You start unpacking that and detoxing from that, and it's painful. I've had personal experiences of this.
Me too.
It is painful, grief-stricken work.
It is.
To
absolutely.
walk out of narcissistic systems.
Yes, it is. Indeed.
Even knowing and maybe having a few people who will like, you did the right thing. This is the, and it will still double me over at times in tears. To be the one that left the system because there's just so much that, I mean, and I think, and this might be a little bit my personality, you know, Enneagram 8, like, you know, not many people get much past me.
Yep, understood.
But to like wake up and go, what the hell? And not like to not know it up front and like go, oh my gosh, I'm in a system. I'm in a narcissistic system. I've been playing. I've been participating. I've been, oh my gosh. And then to start like taking inventory of how I've participated and what it's going to cost me to get out of it. And like, I just have so much compassion.
Yeah, for sure.
And it brings up my own, like, it's like a grief burst.
Yes, absolutely.
Like when I think about it.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's why I'm so passionate about going after that when I sit with people, either as couples or in one-on-one. Like I just, and honestly, if you start down that type of logic, you just realize that it is so, our culture is so steeped in it.
Yeah, it is.
That it's like, oh gosh.
When I walked out of a narcissistic system, I had massive survivor's guilt.
Yes.
Massive survivor's guilt for the people I left behind that were still in it.
Yeah.
And it was
the choice you can't make for them.
It was like, I felt like I walked out of the front door of a prison concentration camp. Mm-hmm. And
for your soul.
For my soul.
Yeah.
And like I turned around and no one was with me.
No. And it's both guilt and grief.
It is. It is.
It's, I mean,
because
you've lost a version of your family.
Yes, that part.
And I don't think it does us any good to not acknowledge that felt like family for you too.
Oh, for sure.
And so like it feels like
is
grief,
family.
Yeah, grief, guilt.
Yeah.
A whole cocktail of emotions. Anger. at realizing that you were abused and invalidated and gaslit and sad for the loss of your years. Yeah. Like the loss is complicated. It's not just relationships or opportunities. It's like effort. Like you've put in years of effort, which is why a lot of people will not walk out.
Because they have too much invested.
Too much. Like they cannot fathom surviving that loss. They cannot fathom, like, because really you just have to walk away. I don't know about you. I did not really get to, I don't want to sound like dramatic, but walking away in the 2 times that I felt like I've had to do that, it's like it's like I walked away with the clothes on my back.
That's correct.
That's the image.
Oh, absolutely correct.
Emotionally.
That's absolutely correct.
I felt like I lost everything that had to do with that.
That's correct. Absolutely
I walked
correct.
away with the clothes on my back.
That's
no
absolutely
bags.
correct. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And the money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
That's it.
Where are you going? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Who's your
this gonna
family?
Play out? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Everything I've invested here may be a total loss.
Absolutely correct. Like zeroed out total loss.
Which is why a lot of people won't. Which is what the system wants it to do. It's how the system maintains itself.
Damn, Jenna.
Yeah. So that's what I've been in, Tim.
I did not know we was getting into this. But that brings up a lot of my body. That brings up a lot of my mind. Because you've been around for how I've walked through it and the nuances and the layers of it. You know what I mean?
I wasn't around when you walked out, but I was around when you walked through the healing.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And it is a process.
Yeah.
It is an absolute process.
You were around when I walked out and walked through.
That's correct. I absolutely was.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be, your mind, there has to be resolution. You have to be prepared to lose everything.
You do.
And walk out anyway.
You do. Which, think about what that requires of a person. Like, how much intestinal fortitude must one have to make that choice? And the system has taken all that away from you.
Yeah, for sure.
The system like sets you up to feel and maybe be weak.
Yeah. Yep. You're absolutely right. Yep. You're absolutely right. Dang it. Oh my. And you find all your strength outside of the system. You find out how strong you were outside of the system.
You do, but like you have to detox. You have to get space. You have to get away.
The detox is real. I tell people all the time.
And I think about it like a drug, like the withdrawal of how the system fed you.
Facts.
Like you go through withdrawal
absolutely
of the thing that felt good but was hurting you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's so much. Okay. Let's back that thing up all the way back to women don't like the sex that they're getting.
Yep.
I'm not letting that go.
It still fits.
Because I agree with this 1,000%.
Yeah.
And I wanna unpack that more. Because you are a sex therapist.
Yeah.
I just happened to deal with humanity for 27 years as a pastor and preacher.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of it.
And do countless hours of counseling and spiritual life coaching with people. And between you and I, we've probably seen this scenario play out thousands of times.
Oh, I'm sure.
Where the husband feels like his wife is not as sexual as he would like her to be, or doesn't perform like he wants her to perform.
Yeah.
I hear it. I think I've only in 47 and a half years of living and close to 30 years of ministry, I think I've only heard like 2 women ever say, I am not satisfied with my partner.
No, they've given that up. They've relinquished that their satisfaction has bearing on it.
Has bearing on it?
Yeah, like they've just like my satisfaction doesn't matter. Like that's what walks in my office all the time. Like it has no bearing on the equation. We just have to keep him happy.
And this is and this is the disproportionate. This is why I made the statement. 2 out of 30 years, close to 30 years.
Those two brave women.
2 brave women out of however many couples that is that I've met with, and the guy comes in and goes, she doesn't do this, and I want her to do this, and she's just sitting there like,
she is not his vending machine. This is where I get real ticked off. You're out of chai.
I'm going for another sip, and there's nothing in here. Oh, I'm swirling. Okay, I'm gonna take that.
Like when I hear the list rattled off, and you're not wrong. Like this is what happens all the time. Is like, well, this, and it's like this list, and I was like, well, you don't get to like put money in, punch 2 buttons, and get whatever you want out. Like that's not human.
Okay. Well, you're in the basement, so, dear husband. Thank you, sweetheart.
Dear husband.
Dear husband, your wife's not a vending machine, so you can't press F7 and get a blowjob.
No.
Oh, you can't press A2 and get a blowjob like you just watched on Pornhub.
That's not real. Porn, even from porn advocates.
The porn advocates would tell you.
The porn advocates would say,
this is not
it
real.
Is terrible sex ed. Not the standard. It is unrealistic people doing unrealistic things in unrealistic situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct.
So the pro-porn people would even tell you that.
Wow.
But we don't know how to separate that out because what happens is you're building arousal templates around what porn is showing you. So then it like doesn't work with your spouse and it's like, what's wrong? It doesn't feel like that. Well, of course not. First of all, it's unrealistic. And second of all, you're watching it on a screen, which is giving you a dopamine hit, which no human to human experience can compete with. But it's her fault.
Child, it's going to be the most cussingest podcast. I felt that thing in my chest.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're
Tell
not
me
wrong.
That's not the narrative that comes out every time.
Every single,
this
absolutely.
This is her fault.
Yep.
That I feel this way. I'm like, I don't know.
No, it ain't. Well, it's not. It's not. That I love that statement that you just made is a nuclear one, right? That what you get through that screen is something that a person-to-person interaction can't even compete with.
No, from just a screen perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely correct.
Not to mention the content and what the content is teaching you.
Yep. Yeah. What the content is teaching you, what the content is now the reason why I can amen all of this is because I like to put it in the first person because it keeps the reality really, really tangible. I am a porn addict, right? Mm-hmm. This is something that the church can't deal with as well, right? Because everything has to be past tense for you, right? I looked at my hands and they looked new, and I looked at my feet and they did too. Look what the Lord has done. Look what the Lord has done.
You can't have a testimony unless you talk about what happened.
That's correct. Absolutely.
And what you're actively battling.
And thank you. What happened and what is happening.
Yeah.
That is the testimony.
Well, that kind of goes back to like the last time I was on here. We're talking about finish lines.
Yes, that's right. There is no finish line.
You're
the finish
not
line
done
is death.
on this side of eternity.
I'm not done.
None of us are done.
So let's deal with the fantasy porn feeds, right? That this person, male or female, is basically a sexual being who is ready to fulfill your sexual desires at any time you want those desires.
That means
satisfied.
We are cultivating sexual entitlement.
Correct, right?
Which entitlement never leads to intimacy.
Somebody needs to write that down.
If it's owed, it is not shared. You just puffed in your mic. Listen, this will probably lose me all my followers, all 10 of you. But like, here's the thing. I sat around tables with brilliant experts for years, and many of them claiming to be feminist, pro-women, a lot of good things, still would stand by that sex was owed from a biblical perspective. And as I did my detoxing and whatever work you want to call it, I just cannot, one, from a consent perspective, from a intimacy perspective, if I owe it to you, I can't give it to you anymore. Like, by definition, everything has changed in the dynamic. Wow. And okay, do you want to go here? You ready for this?
Oh, go.
The reason why I think the church, and I'm going to say mostly men, although I've seen some women do it, maintain that sex is owed and a need is based on scarcity mentality, because they want to be able to guarantee they can control for the ultimate outcome. And if we weren't taught that it's going to fall off when we're 40 and it's going to disappear and you have to control, if we weren't taught that, I mean, we almost need to put like a whole generation in an incubator. Be like, if we were taught that it's like desire's good and it's free and it's wonderful and we protect it, but like you don't have to be afraid of losing it, like how all these controlling factors around it has just corroded the whole thing.
Okay, Jenna.
We don't like the sex we're being offered.
We don't like the sex we're being offered. And
it's a thing.
I think women have Bible for better sex.
Okay.
I think they have scripture for it. I think there's precedent. I think a single dude named Paul wrote something about it that if men read it, they would see the order of things. The man came first and then the woman. I think they would. I'm just going to read it. I don't know.
Let's unpack it.
I might read some and maybe you'll think, no, Tim, that's not what it means. I'm just going to read it.
But we're here for the dialogue.
I'm here for the dialogue.
Let's do it.
I just want to read this and just see if this, especially in the order, I'm a big order guy, right? So many theologians are order guys, right? The guy was here first and then the woman and then he came out the third.
Also, that like whole helper thing.
Yeah, the complementarian.
Military alliance.
It's the same word used for God when he says he's a helper.
Listen, my husband's like, you're my military alliance. I'm like, I love you, man.
Absolutely.
He gets it.
I want all four branches up in this piece.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm going to just read this. I'm just going to read the Bible, man. I'm just reading the Bible.
Just read it.
Dang it. Just reading. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just reading the Bible. And and then if something happens, then it happens. But if it don't happen, then maybe it don't happen. Okay.
Ready.
So let's just read this. And then let's just see if this is something. 1 Corinthians chapter number 7.
Oh, yeah.
Now, regarding the questions you asked in your letter, yes, it is good to abstain from sexual relations. Can we just pause?
That's what came first.
Paul is writing a letter to the Corinthians who are asking about sexual things.
Yeah.
They were like, Paul's not here. Let's write a letter to him because we want to kind of know how are we supposed to govern ourselves
also,
sexually.
Can we just like the context? Like Corinthians are losing their ever-loving sexual minds.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's put this in like conditionally.
Just
bunch of yahoos.
Yeah. So let me give you context on Corinth to like Western American.
This is the scripture that everybody loves to throw down. Okay.
Yeah, but I just want to, again, I like to slow read it because, again, context is everything, right?
I love it.
So Corinth is all together Miami Beach, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And
I don't even
LA.
think it touches it.
No, I'm just saying.
That's mild.
Put it all in a blender and you still ain't coming close.
It's like Diet Corinth. Like it's not even touching.
Diet Corinth.
It's a diet.
It's hilarious. I love it. Okay. All right. So, but here's what I want to say though. They were talking. They had sexual questions, and they had somebody that could answer
100%.
The questions. The church, we don't want to even let nobody ask a question about sexuality without putting our little "the marriage is undefiled" stamp on it and just walking away. We don't even want to deal with the nuances. We don't even want to deal with the fact that women are not even happy with the sex they've been offered, and we just tell them to go pray. It's the shittiest answer of all time.
It is the shittiest answer.
That's the shittiest answer of all time.
That is not going to help her find her sexual desire.
She's not going to find her sexual desire in the war room. Okay. All right.
That part.
Okay. Now regarding the questions, this might be my favorite episode. Now regarding the questions you asked in your letter, yes, it is good to abstain from sexual relations. But because there is so much sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband, right? Okay. The next.
Can we just stop there, though? It is because of your immorality.
That's correct.
This is maybe what we should do to solve
y'all
this.
are buck wild.
Out of control.
You are the most promiscuous, freakiest people on the planet. Now, let's not assume that all of this freakiness that was happening was all heterosexual.
Oh, no.
This was a cross-pollination. Rome was the most hedonistic place you could ever imagine. So this is guys with girls, girls with girls, guys with guys.
There's a lot listed off in the context before this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that goes back to chapter number 6. Yeah. But I'm just dealing with this. Okay. So the husband, this is the first sentence before the comma. The husband. Now remember, I'm a pretty big guy when it comes to order, right?
Yeah.
I think the order's there for a reason, right? The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs.
But can we talk about the difference between sex and intercourse?
Oh, we can, but let me just.
Okay,
I just
keep
want
going. I will diverge this in 100 directions. So,
Okay, the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. This doesn't sound like a job for the woman. This sounds like a job for both.
Yep.
And based on the order, it sounds like the man is the one that needs to do his job first.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like to me. I'm just reading the Bible.
It's true.
The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body, to his wife. Okay, I'll read one more. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time only. Only's not in there. For a limited time, so that you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. Afterward, you should come together again so that Satan won't be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. All right. There's so much.
Hold on. But there's one after that too.
I say this as a concession, not as a command.
Nobody wants to teach that one. Paul said it as a concession, not a command.
Right.
Because of lack of control.
That's correct.
I don't like the sex that I'm being offered.
Right.
If I am the object of your lack of self-control. I'm not the object of your affection. I am the object of your lack of discipline. So Paul said that as a concession, and he never promised it was going to be good sex. So when you come into my office and fuss about it ain't great for me, and be like, well, she's the object of your lack of self-control. And we have taught that as a church. She doesn't like the sex she's being offered.
How do we empower women?
I was about to cuss.
This is clearly the episode.
Give him some fucking space. We're not just talking about we're talking about generations and generations. And you've not heard me speak on this, but I track it back to the Garden of Eden.
For real.
It's a control issue.
Yeah.
She lost her voice as a part of the curse.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about generations and generations and generations of being stripped of our voice. And your voice is a required ingredient in order to find your desire and your flourishing. But as long as we're still performing for others and we're keeping everybody else happy and our job is to help you have self-control and we're responsible for you and we're responsible for this, then I'm sorry, there's no space for that. And you talk about a costly detox for all parties. For all parties. And when I finally have a man come into the office willing to walk that out, it makes me cry with gratitude. Because he gets it. And I say 80% of marriages, he's the higher drive partner.
Right.
God gave men testosterone. That does not mean women need to go get on it. That just makes them angry and prickly unless it's really needed. So that doesn't make them more horny. It makes them Brillo pads and spikes. So it's not great.
That sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah. So unless you really need it, don't do that. That doesn't, but that literally men and women going to the doctor to get on testosterone as opposed to figuring out what's really happening.
And
it backfires.
And her I'm glad that you said testosterone doesn't make you more horny, right? But if that's also the they just handed what did y'all just hand her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got you. Because because you're getting passionate right here, and I'm loving it, right? So if testosterone is not going to make you horny, and even if you find something to make her horny, it doesn't mean that you, man, are actually still she's horny and she's still not going to be fulfilled.
She's chemically horny. She's not being intimate.
That's exactly right.
Which chemicals matter, but here's the thing. It takes so much space and healing for a woman to find that again when generations of women have been drugged through it. And if you have the wherewithal to kind of start walking out of it, you're leaving the system. Let's talk about how painful that is to be a woman who does different than the system. And inventorying the loss of being different. And that, it's only, sometimes your spouse comes with you, sometimes he doesn't.
Right. This is very true. This is very, 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 very true. This is very, 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 very true.
I'm blessed that my spouse is so supportive of me being a very strong, obnoxiously strong woman, and that is beautiful. I feel very blessed and loved by God that I ended up with the man that I did.
Yep.
Because if you ask him, the moments he knew he wanted to marry me, he was like, I watched her and everything she touched turned to gold. That's what attracted him to me first was my ability to do something, not my hair or my eyes.
Yep.
Not that he doesn't love all those things.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like, I watched her move through the world and I love that about her.
Yeah.
And as we've gone through this process, because him and I grew up generally in the same culture of purity culture and some of these teachings, for him to go, oh, I need to detox. I have to do my work around my male sexuality for you to be able to flourish. And the space, realistically, that took for us, and a lot of those. So, yeah, she doesn't always have her spouse's support.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely correct. And she damn sure doesn't have culture support.
No.
Yeah.
Very lonely process.
Okay, so as you know, I'm watching everything you say, right?
Yeah.
So, what help men? What does that space look like? Like when you say she doesn't have any fucking space.
She doesn't.
Well, what kind of space does she need?
Well,
and I know it's not a cookie cutter answer.
It's such a complicated question because some of it is she kind of needs you to back off. Do you know how meaningful it is for a woman to be able to say no and not get punished or there be pouting? I mean, she kind of needs to trust that you get that she is not the object of your sexual lack of discipline.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to build trust back there.
Yeah.
Like, am I just meeting whatever you think your needs are? And then can I find my voice without it being a performative thing for you? And I mean, and then honestly, some of it is just, I would say it's trauma work. Like, I've had the opportunity to do like some EMDR work around this. And to go, oh, that's where that message comes from. So it's like healing work, it's couples work, it's backing off, it's being very supportive of, you do not walk into the woods for 50 years and out in 5 minutes.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about like long-suffering patients.
Yeah.
And so I think it's rushed, time-wise, and it's like, well, we're uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. We are.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're very uncomfortable. Yeah.
But it gets like rushed. So it's a complicated answer.
Yeah, no. I appreciate you even broaching and giving ideas, because if there are men like me out there,
yeah,
who advocate for women holistically, but then also sexually, I do want my wife to have space. I'm the more comfortable when talking about sex in my relationship. Juliet is always like,
y'all so
what
cute when
he
y'all
said.
talk about it.
She's like, what he said.
Yeah.
but for Julie, like for Juliet and I don't want charity sex from her. I don't
pity
want,
and duty sex sucks for everybody.
That's I don't want.
But you have to quit having sexual entitlement for a couple to get out of that.
That's correct. I don't like obligatory sex.
No.
I don't like sleepy sex. Like, just, hey, let me just roll over and do what you need to do, and then like, and that onus is on me. That takes self-control.
And I just don't know that many husbands who like want to break down all the barriers to, you know how many women, okay, I think I said this in the last one, like there's a famous sex therapist and researcher that said that women would benefit more from a sleep study than sex therapy. They're tired. We don't have testosterone pumping through our bodies upwards of every 20 minutes to help maintain your muscle mass, the way your body works as a man. We don't have that.
Yep.
And so we just don't have as much of that spontaneous
I plan mine.
Craving.
Yeah, I plan mine, and most people think that's boring. Because again,
you also plan your trips to Australia, and I don't see you complaining about those when you get there.
Not at all.
I hate when people poo-poo on planning sex.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well,
we spend tons of time planning and allocating funds and blocking and all that. We don't complain about the outcomes.
You plan about the movies you're going to. You don't spontaneously just go to dinner and dress up, right? And the steak doesn't taste any less good. That's exactly right. But the reason why the planning sounds completely illogical is because you've been watching porn
in Hollywood. You don't even have to watch porn. You can watch soft porn on Hollywood.
That's exactly right.
It's like we're just ready all the time.
Yeah,
like,
no, and then
you are not.
You're smack. You knock them up against a wall and you roll over the cat. Like, it's all like this manufactured passion. It's not even what are we doing? So like, you're not walking in the house and the girl's doing the dishes and she was like, "Oh, you're home, Big Daddy," and just pulls her panties down.
No,
while she's still washing dishes and just lets you walk up behind her and start pumping her. Like,
yeah,
it's implausible.
No,
this is staged. They got the
and
actress.
If you want acting and performance, keep asking for it, but that's not ever going to hit the same as intimacy.
This is exactly right.
So that's the next level. You have a woman who's willing to do all of that just to keep him happy, and then he comes, and I have this, and then he comes in and he's like, "Well, it just doesn't feel close." And I'm like, "Because you're not practicing intimacy.
That's right.
You're practicing performance."
That's right. That's right. I love the idea of creating space.
It's painful, but it's really beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And then again, I'm a Bible guy, right? So I read the Bible and I take it literally. And I'm like, I'm supposed to fulfill my wife's sexual needs. she gets to name what those needs are. She tells me what the needs are. It's not my assumption.
Based on what you like.
Based on what I like.
Yeah.
I give my wife what she desires, what she wants. This is what I need for this. And I'm like, I agree. I am in full, I consent, and there's 100% agreement. I may have a need my wife doesn't want to consent to. That need is now off the table.
That section of scripture has been so weaponized.
It has been.
Has been so weaponized. And I admittedly, and I'm sure this will get used against me and I just don't care anymore, but like not a biblical scholar, you can attest to this, have done my work when I go after something.
Do. Absolutely.
But I would be really interested in getting into some of the original language and translation stuff with the word need, because biologically.
Oh, well, I can fix that right now.
Here's the thing, that whole need thing gets weaponized because if it's a need, you can't survive without it. Okay, so this is where the logic train goes. So we love throwing down the word need, and I'm like, if Paul can be celibate, I don't think you need it.
Point blank, period. Right? Jesus too.
So I don't think that the way we weaponize that part of scripture is literally accurate. Again, haven't had a chance to deep dive on that one yet, but that's where I struggle because I'm like, we got to quit calling it a need.
Oh, this is gonna piss you off then. Let me see. Let me turn this up. This is, get this Greek word. Ophele. Ophele is the Greek word for need.
Okay.
Definition: obligation, debt.
But at the end of the whole thing, it says this is a concession.
That's correct. Absolutely correct. But the breakdown, right? And so obviously you can have various definitions and how they apply in certain scenarios, right? So obligation, duty, debt, amount owed, debt, what one should do.
So we're saying like the ideal is.
What one should do. And listen,
this is where this gets messy, and this is why it's been weaponized.
And so let me give you a perfect example. So if you have a couple that is together and one of them has gone through like horrific sexual trauma.
Yeah, great example.
And
or a medical condition
or
that is limiting.
Okay, or a medical condition that is limiting. How Sway? How we doing this? Right? So I think I think the what should do, the ideal, this in a perfect world, ideally with all conditions being, we are all our hearts and minds and souls are clear, which that is not the case in Corinth. You know what I mean?
This is a concession and not command.
Yeah.
I'm like, everybody loves to leave that one off.
Right. Like it's like we should. This is what we hope for, knowing that I said I do to a person that I'm going to find out more about 100%. In the next 50 years.
That they don't even know about themselves.
That's exactly right. That I would have never been privy to in the last 3 years of dating.
No.
Or the last 5 years of dating. Or the last 7 years of living together. There's a light that shines on marriage that does not shine on living together, right? So
yeah,
I just want to ensure that we redeem context to this particular passage, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, that we advocate for women, not advocate, we encourage women, inspire women. I'll even go biblical word, exhort women.
Yeah.
To be brave enough to get your voice back.
Yeah. And I would argue it's not sex until you do. It's intercourse. Because if we think about, so it was sexual needs, right? And you talked about that. And I really appreciate Sheila Gregory's work. and talking about like we need to call intercourse and sex, and sex is the whole person. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's deep connectedness. We're all sexual beings. Like let's be really honest. Are we meeting those needs? If we're going to call it a need.
Okay, so let me synthesize a statement based on what you just said, and you let me know if it works for you or not. And since I'm a man, I'm gonna say it as a man. I'm gonna make it a man statement. Okay. I have intercourse. I can have intercourse with a vagina. I can have sex with a person.
Yeah.
And it's my choice. I have to be willing to say, do I want to have intercourse with this part of this person, or do I want to have sex with this person?
Well, and I would say if you're having intercourse and you're weaponizing that passage in scripture, you're objectifying.
Oh, for sure.
The other human. And I just can't see. I not my Jesus. That's my response to that. Not my Jesus. So if someone wants to get in some kind of pissing contest about translating that and what it means and doesn't, like if you start to translate scripture to the objectification of humans, not my Jesus.
Not at all. Well, okay, I got a scenario for everything, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, Mr. Pastor man, theologian, seminarian, walking down the street and with his wife, and I guess they're having a night out on the town, and say his wife's looking good, and some dude on the street is like, "Oh my God, girl, that ass is fat." Mr. Theologian Seminary man is probably going to have some words, right? Might even have some bodily actions toward this person for making that. Your wife got a fat ass, man. Oh, man, you must be blessed. I don't know. Or you know what I mean? He's not going to put up with a stranger objectifying his wife.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that he objectifies his wife by saying every Sunday after church, I'm going to need sex from you to be okay.
Again, she doesn't like the sex she's being offered.
So I got to give you a blowjob because you preached the sermon. But I ain't getting nothing. And what I do get, I don't even like. Okay.
That's why I stand by the statement.
The statement is worth standing by.
Yeah.
The statement is worth standing by.
Because in order to pull back locus of control into what can I own as a woman, there's so much healing work that has to be done. And it's the work we want. And what I told our very dear friend is I'm not naming the solution, I'm naming the problem.
That's correct. And that's what the women's movement was about. That's what civil rights was about.
Absolutely.
That's what the LGBTQIA plus communities thing is about. I don't have to agree with it, but they're naming what the problem is.
I have to have my voice.
Yeah.
It is not intimacy with me. It's not my faith. It's not any of that unless it's like, well, what is true for me?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a wordsmith and I'm a literalist. So what I've always said is what is true for a person doesn't equate to the truth.
No.
The truth is a person. His name is Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. His name is actually Yeshua. Yeshua the Messiah, who's Jesus in our Western society. He's a Jewish dude. Okay. He was born a Jew.
Yep.
He died a Jew. He's actually going to come back a Jew. He ain't coming to America either. Just I'm so sorry to disappoint everybody.
I know.
Okay, he ain't coming for you, right? We are Gentiles. He is gonna come straight back to the little mountain he was on when he ascended. Right, that's where he's coming back. All right, so that's where we will look for him. He ain't coming to America. Trust and believe. Okay, so for me, I feel like we don't even give people permission to have their voice if it disagrees with ours.
Yeah.
That's why I can acknowledge the LGBTQIA plus community. There's a lot of letters there. But I acknowledge them because I want them to know. I'll look right in this camera.
Because I want to see the human.
Yes, I love you. I want you to know that you are seen and heard by someone who may not even agree with you. But that doesn't mean I don't see you. It doesn't mean I don't hear you. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to learn from you. I want full context to your story. I want to know how to love you where you are. I want to know how to pray for you. I want to know how to be beside you without you feeling uncomfortable with me and me uncomfortable with you. That takes curiosity. That takes humility. The only people I know walking around that feel like they don't need to hear another side of the story is the narcissist who's already fallen in love with his own image and his own narrative.
Yeah.
Right? So let's button up this narcissist real quick.
Yep.
If you fall in love with your own image, you're going to fall in love with your own voice.
And you're going to create an echo chamber to protect it.
So the image and the voice is there, right? Then you're going to fall in love with your actions, which means they can never be wrong.
You can do no wrong.
I can't do no wrong. Of course, what I did was right. And you're actually wrong. You're the one that made me do it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The reason why I backhanded you the other day.
Yeah, you did that.
Yeah, you did that. Like
You gave me no choice.
Yeah, absolutely. You pissed me off and you wouldn't shut up, and I told you 5 times, and so I had to slap you. But you did that.
Yeah.
If you would have shut up after the 4th time, you wouldn't have got slapped the 5th time. It's your fault you got slapped.
It's an abuse cycle. This is why some people don't like me as their sex therapists. I make it very complicated.
This ain't
I name that it's complicated. Let me reframe that.
Ain't nothing complicated about this, homie. Like this is and I can understand where again
people want quick fixes.
If you're deep in the system,
yeah.
Right? If you're deep in the system and you're told this is what it takes to come out, that person thinks you just want me to drown in a gallon of milk.
Would you like me to add another layer?
I want all the layers.
Because we kind of talked about like where would we go at the beginning of this.
Yep.
And we talked a little bit before we started hitting record. So one of my passions is to work with sexual dysfunction that has to do with the pelvic floor. And the pelvic floor is the basket of muscles that sits in your pelvis that supports a lot of bodily functions. It impacts your back, like running, your hips, and it supports urinating, defecating, and sexual activities. Okay. And it's kind of like layers of muscles that we collectively call the pelvic floor. And the pelvic floor is an emotional muscle. And one of the famous studies that I quote in my dissertation is they wanted to see this, so they like wired specifically women up from head to toe with sensors to measure, muscle movement. And they showed them 4 different stimuli. The neutral control stimuli was weather, like the Weather Channel, but like a neutral, sunny day, mild temperature, as best you can, no feelings kind of deal.
Yep.
And then they showed them a horror film, nothing sexual to do with it, just like, Boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
And then they showed them basically a scary sexual scene. Mm. And then they showed them a sexual scene that was very female oriented.
Okay.
That was the 4.
Okay.
So she's in charge, she's in control, as best they can, female oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And what it showed was that basically the first muscle to move when fear, any fear, not necessarily sexual fear, but any fear, was the pelvic floor muscle. The pelvic floor muscle braces to protect you. And there's like, lots of theory, like evolutionary theory is like, well, we probably shouldn't be making babies. So I'm going to clap together because the pelvic floor muscles close the entry to the vagina. Okay. So you can have pain and penetration issues when your pelvic floor is not functioning in the way we want it to. But so let's not have babies when we're in war.
Right.
Evolutionary theory.
Right.
And if you think about having to brace to run, like your pelvic floor is engaged, like lots of things like that. So fear triggers off the pelvic floor.
Curious, just as a quick,
for men and women.
For like I'm thinking of a colloquialism, like that's a butt clencher.
Yeah.
That's pelvic floor.
Yeah, my pelvic floor therapists actually make all sorts of funny Instagram reels all the time about quit clenching your butt because it's not good for your pelvic floor.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So like one of
but that would be activated in fear.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're like, oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
like you clench.
Yeah.
So when you think about how scary this is, generally,
yep,
to lose your voice, to have your no taken away. We have a lot of women with pelvic floor issues. And quite frankly, there are men with pelvic floor issues too. Everybody has pelvic floor. So part of my dissertation was to explore the connections between trauma and pelvic floor dysfunction and sexual dysfunction. And our bodies will demand us to pay attention to things that we're not paying attention to.
Yes, they will. It's very true.
And, there's a lot of dynamics in the research, so I don't want to make a scientific statement that's inaccurate. It can be random. Mm-hmm. But my gut in my office, when I'm working with people, it's like there's typically a reason that sucker's firing off. Our nervous system is just completely connected in a lot of ways. And so, but we don't want to do that hard work. We would, rather do other things than pay attention to the reason I might be bracing all the time.
Now, I know about this research because as you were trying to gather participants,
you helped me recruit.
Yeah, to recruit. We were pumping it out on our social media platforms, and the people that I heard back from that actually went through the whole thing.
Oh wow!
These are not people that I know. They just DM back to say thank you so much. I actually participated in this, and I found out a lot, and it was very, very helpful, and all that kind of stuff. It's you made a statement about even because I always make the statement, everywhere we go, there we are.
Yeah.
Right. You bring all of you with you to wherever you go.
Yeah.
Right. You are a sum total of your life experiences, and you're not stepping into a new season as a portion of yourself. And it damn sure ain't the best portion. All of you is coming. You know what I mean? The hope and prayer is like at the end of A Beautiful Mind. If you haven't seen the movie with Russell Crowe, spoiler alert. Do you still see those people? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I just ignore them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, they don't disappear. I've learned how to ignore them.
Yeah.
Right? The little girl never grows up.
Nope.
It's one of the best parts of the whole movie to me. Little girl never grows up. That's one of the things that got me to start making a pivot in porn.
Oh, yeah.
I aged. The porn stars didn't.
Yeah.
Those actresses did.
Yeah.
But they got cycled out.
Yeah.
For younger stars. And so I'm like, that's not going to age well.
No.
At all. Right?
No.
We're going to make some different decisions here, right? So to have you made the statement about pelvic floor even for kids at the toddler age when they're being potty trained.
Oh yeah.
Can you?
Yeah. So one of the things, both from a sex therapy perspective and from like a physical therapy perspective, the potty training years are really impactful on sexual development, both biomechanically and emotionally and cognitively, which is why I wish everybody would quit putting their kids through potty training boot camps, because there's autonomy and agency being developed over their body. My body is mine. It is user friendly. So like the kid who continues to fail at potty training because they have not been prepped well and they've been forced to do it too early. So we want kids to get the message about their bodies that like, my body's amazing and it does this incredible things and it's user friendly and I am competent and all of this stuff in those years and boundaries, right?
Right. Correct.
All these boundaries gets laid in the early toddler and preschool years and then reinforced for the rest of their life. But then I have the joy of working with Dr. Leah. She's a pediatric pelvic floor therapist, and she specializes in working with parents whose kids are going through potty training and struggling. And she talks about pre-potty training prep. Her website is The Day I Learned, and she has like a whole book to like walk kids through it. And she's like, we don't prep them for potty training like they need to be. Like they need to like learn about what their body is doing and understand it and embrace it and celebrate it. But one of the things I think I've told you is that like we teach kids to push their poop out, which you should not do.
Right, correct.
Like the pelvic floor, when you engage it, like closes everything up. And so you're actually causing issues. And the PTs that I work with all the time are always talking about like all these people who push to urinate and defecate, which is the opposite of what we want to teach your pelvic floor to do.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we're very big proponents of like early intervention where like, let's help the next generation get trained better, both from like a cognitive emotional perspective, but also from like a biomechanical perspective. Like there's just so much there. People don't know what they don't know.
No, that's amazing. No,
Yeah.
When you told me that, I nerded out on that for a little bit.
Everybody get a squatty potty and stop pushing. That's the short.
I have a squatty potty.
Yes.
Yes, those
Your knees are
those
supposed
knees
to go
supposed
up.
to be up.
They're
Absolutely.
supposed to be up and just
I
let
have
it
a squatty
fall out.
potty.
Breathe.
Yes, I have a squatty potty. Yes, squatty potties are amazing. I don't know anybody else that's ever even said squatty potty, but
Everybody needs a squatty potty and stop pushing.
absolutely. I pee sitting down. I said this on a
Yes, you have.
on a different podcast, and like I'm too comfortable. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's different standing up and
your pelvic floor is in a different position.
yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it makes a lot of it. I mean, I have a son and a daughter, and like one of the things that we were encouraged to do is to not stand up until you've gotten the sit down version down.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it does shift the biomechanics, like learning to relax, like learning to let go.
Yeah.
So I think we rushed to the standing up thing.
Yeah.
Because, and I understand it, parents are your penis is a multifunction tool. It's kind of fun. And so like, it's fun to go pee out in the yard and like kind of incentivizes the whole thing. And so I know why people do it,
Yep.
but I'm not sure it's best to start that way.
No. And I'm an adult and I still think sitting down is way easier.
It's just so relaxing.
It is so relaxing. No. Jenna Mountain, you have we've opened up a can of worms on this one
today.
We have opened up a can of worms.
Yeah, we did.
But I hope it's like
I hope it agitates.
I hope it agitates.
I hope it agitates. People don't have to agree with me.
Or me.
And I can make mistakes.
Me too.
But I hope it agitates.
I hope we've agitated you in a way that inspires, challenges, provokes, disturbs, disrupts, but ultimately brings you to the point of some decisions, for or against. You know what I mean? Man,
Even if someone maintains their position on something, I'm hoping that they will be more intentional and thoughtful about why.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
You can disagree with this whole podcast,
Sure.
but ground your disagreement in a foundation that you can articulate.
Yeah.
Hear me, articulate, not type out. I'm not going to see your comment. So you can, if you're triggered and you're going to write a bad review or you're going to leave a comment, I'm not going to see it. Articulate it. Articulate it and articulate it to the people that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you think we're all the way wrong, start a podcast and
Talk about it.
knock yourself out. You know what I mean? Talk about it. You know what I mean?
You'll find plenty of people to agree with you.
Oh, you will always find somebody that's going to agree with you. So anyway, Jenna, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
You make me a better person.
Same.
Yeah, you do. You make me a better person. I love you so much.
I love you too.
I love your mind. Oh my God, I love the way you think. And our first returner got us cussing like we've never cussed before. Who's us? Me. Got me cussing like I never cussed before. But man, brought some stuff out there that.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's gonna free some people. Oh, it's gonna free some people. And once again, I just want to say, listen, this podcast is not for everybody. And I just want to reiterate, if you're a weaker Christian, this is not the podcast for you. We can list 10 podcasts that would be right up your alley and just right where you need it to be. But I make no excuses. This is who I am. This is who I've been. This is who I'll continue to be.
Same.
I love you guys so much. And until next time, peace.